Great, welcome. So we are going to talk visuals on Substack today, and my plan is to put a couple of you on the spot if you are willing and want to. So it's been something that's been on my mind for a really long time because I am a visual person. I feel like when we are setting up our Substack home, there's this part of us that wants to question what that should look and feel like. So there's this really interesting space of kind of breaking the fourth wall, going into video calls and extending that invitation of what this Substack publication, this online magazine is like. So I wanted to go into it some more. I'm also really curious about leaning into the space of, can it affect our open rates and what you guys think? I can definitely share what I think, but I'd really love to hear from you about what you think in terms of your visuals and how it holds people, how your visuals can hold people, and whether it can affect open rates as well. Obviously, by this, I'm talking about within the app because email's a bit of a different thing, isn't it, in terms of like email preview. But yes, we're going to dive into that. But I wanted to ask for any volunteers. So feel free to share your Substack URLs in the chat. I think everybody's sort of just filtering in. But if you would also like me and be open to me having a look at your Substack and sharing my screen and talking about the way that I feel held and looking at people's visuals and giving some feedback on that, I would love that too. This is something that I do as part of my Sparkle audits, and what's come through really strongly in the last little while, and people won't mind me saying this, is that Substacks have become cluttered, which is again why I focused on those tidy up calls. And Substacks have become confused, as we've made selections of certain images that maybe kind of enhance a theme or a topic, or things have kind of gone in one direction. We've tried to pull it back to another direction. So we've got a curatorial job, if we would like one, on our Substacks. Now, I will just add in that the top grossing Substack, Heather Cox Richardson, who writes about American politics, does not use any visuals in our Substack. So I want to be really transparent that for me, visuals feel important. Like that is just who I am as a person, as a creative in the world. For other people, they're just going to use the tool of Substack and they're going to do their writing. So to practice discernment about what feels good to us is super important. And in that, I want to say to you, if at any point in this call, you're like, actually, no, this is overwhelmed for me. Like, I'm not there yet. I want to go back to the beginning, or I just want to go and write. Feel free to do that. The reason I'm offering all of these different types of workshops is because it's bubbling up a lot with my one-to-ones, with the Sparkle audits, with you guys. But if in this moment it doesn't feel good to you, then absolutely go and do your own thing, and you can circle back to this at another point if it feels good to do that. So I'm going to check in the chat. If you would like me to pull up your Substack, please let me know. I'll just see who's here. Oh, Claire's going to volunteer. Good. Okay. So we'll go with Claire first. Got my children downstairs. I can just hear them. That's fine. I'm sure everything's all good. Welcome, everyone. It's so lovely to see you. Okay, let me go on to Claire's before I lose the link. Okay, right. Let me just share my screen. Is it gone now? Any second now, guys. I'll find you again. I don't know what's happened here. There we go. Right. Good. Sorry about landing on my desktop there. Right, here we are. So this is Claire's space. Can we all see it okay? Just making sure. Some nods. Okay, so this is Claire's Substack space. The title of Claire's publication, I can just about see. Now, I have quite a small Mac laptop, so I will say I can just about read it. I do feel like I'm at the opticians. But I can just about read it. Take time out to be creative. With Claire Albans from Hello Hooray. Yeah. So this word mark space is really tricky to get right. I don't personally use it because I tried once and it was just bonkers. It just did bonkers things. So I was like, you know what? It's fine. I think that when we are creative, we are pulled into this direction, aren't we, of kind of branding it all up and having a go. But I don't think it takes anything away, with that text being small. It's just I have to concentrate a little bit to read it. So people have also fed back to me that this script-based font can be difficult to read. So I've used it in various different creative projects, and I've had feedback from certain people that say it would be better if you would just use a more open font. But again, I think this is the thing, we can just survey our people and find out how things are landing. So I can see the lovely pink and the rainbow colours. Claire's wearing a rainbow jumper, so it feels a very positive space. I feel it's a very colourful space. I know Claire's work, I'm pretending I don't, but I'm feeling like, yeah, okay, this feels very inviting. It's joyful. So I start to see really quickly, there's some stitched words here, and there's an embroidery hoop here. Oh, and then now there's a blank embroidery hoop here. So my clues as to who Claire is in the world are already starting to build up just from landing here on this homepage. So we're always remembering that Substack can be an app-based experience, an email-based experience, and a website-based experience. But on this website-based experience, I definitely feel like I'm on a version of Claire's website. You know, that just feels like, yeah, I know what I'm doing here. That feels like something I can jump into. And then I've got some options along the top bar here. Now, the thing that I see the most on this top bar is that we're trying to invite people to do too many things at once. So here on Claire's bar, my advice if I was doing a Sparkle audit would be to take chat out, because it's not needed. It doesn't help anybody navigate anything from the app because chat is already in the app. So we don't necessarily need it here in the website bar. So that would be a little piece of feedback around the visuals and just making sure that what we have in that navigation bar is what we want people to click on and where we want people to go, knowing that people will probably go to our about page first or the middle post first. So holding the whole website as it is, I feel like for me, and you tell Claire in the chat as well how you feel, this just feels really clear. It feels like, yeah, it's a positive space. She's telling us about her embroidery membership. There she is as a person. Here's her embroidery. Here's her work. All the color aesthetic works. I feel invited. I feel like I could click on something. So that's the first step there. And then when I click into a post, so let's try this intro one. Oh, okay. So this is obviously a community post, which is fine. So this is for a paid community, so I can't really see anything, but that's fine. But you can see there that the aesthetic of the pink is matching up with all of the pink and the pink experience that I'm having on Claire's site, which is great. Sometimes there is a color clash at this point, and that might be what your intention is, but just to let you know, this is all syncing up. So I can see that. We'll go back again. Let me see if I can find, okay, so this one is for everybody. Here. Yeah. Great. So,
wow.
well, there's loads of information here because obviously this is a conversion page, you know, and what we're getting is some really high quality images. And we're getting those repeated through the post. At any point on this post, we're still within this Substack website. Everything is very joined up aesthetically. Everything is laid out in a way that it is really clear. We've got a little button there. It's all syncing up. Claire, did you want to tell us any of your intentions for how you were building out this space? I know you have built out other spaces, online spaces on social media and on website as well. But as you were coming to your Substack, was there anything that you were stuck on visually, or did you feel like it was quite clear for you to design this space?
The design, I really like the magazine layout of it all. And I've been blogging since like 2012, so I like that format for my blog, and I wanted something similar. So once I started putting the tags in a bit further down on the page, I've got like all of my free posts. So there where it says take time out to be creative, that's all of my free content. So I use it for a newsletter monthly and then do additional posts. So I've put that there. And then the other sections are the paid sections, just because I wanted people to be able to find the free stuff, I think, a bit more clearly. What you were saying about the header, Claire, I've had an absolute nightmare with that header.
It's really hard. It's really hard.
It's just, you know, the sizing, and then I deleted one, and then it just went to pot. But I wanted something different to just the text. But I think you're right. It does need to something that I still need to
I
work on
wonder if you
really.
use that blue, that darker blue or something, just a contrasting color, because I think it's the
Yeah,
pink on the white that's hard. And if you're
yeah,
going with a white backdrop, I think
yeah.
just it's hard, isn't it? Pink on white, unless it's bigger.
hmm
It
I
is
can't
just
get it
really
any bigger.
hard.
I've fiddled
No,
around,
you can't. No,
made a
it's
mess
tough.
of it.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't have
Oh,
the
one thing I do want
patience.
to ask, how do you get collaborative posts to appear here? Do I have to cross post?
No, so let me. The person has to have accepted the tag, the writer tag. Does that make
Yeah, so
sense to you?
I've
So
accepted it for somebody
yeah.
else.
Mm-hmm.
It was for
Mm-hmm.
Lucy that I did a collab
Oh,
with last
right.
week.
Yeah.
And I'd really like it to be here, but it's not just done it automatically and I don't want to mess anything up. So I was like, I'll just ask Claire today.
Yeah. There.
There, it's that
So
one.
yeah,
So it comes up
so
there.
it's there, but I'm sure I have seen it on the Substack website before as well. I'll have a little dig around when we're doing our journaling exercise and see if I can find an
Thank you.
example and then go back to that people. But you have accepted it. It is there. There's your name. So it could be something in settings that I have missed, but you're not doing anything wrong. But yeah, I
Okay,
think
all right.
it's hard. It's hard because I'm questioning now if I have seen that. I'm sure I have seen it though, unless I've just seen it in there. Yeah. No, but cross posting's a good thing to do anyway. It's the timing of that cross post. So I tend to, instead of cross posting it at the same time as all of the kind of bubbling up of people finding the post is happening, I tend
Yeah.
to wait and then cross post it
Okay.
later. But you do get the option with cross posting whether you're going to email it out or post it. And I wonder whether at that point, that's when I see it then. Yeah, I think it is, Claire. Now I'm talking back the process because when I did my last collaboration with Kat, she cross posted it and then it appeared on her site, on her publication site. And I
Okay.
think that's it. But I will go and dig around to see if I can fathom it out.
Super, thank you.
So take time out to be creative is an invitation. And I want to say that sometimes within our Substack, whether that's in a section title or whether that's in a Substack title, we can extend that invitation. This is what I'd advise as well, having if you've got this layout to have your free content here, because otherwise people are just seeing a whole load of padlocks. So if you've already seen the padlocks up here, and you are just a free subscriber and you've never seen Claire's work, then there is that opportunity there to delve into some free stuff. So that's really handy. And Claire, I think you get professional photos, don't you? Because this is part of the agenda today to talk more about this with folks. So you've had some professional photos done.
Yes, that photo of me there is the photo, my headshot for my next book, which is coming out next month. So that was, but the rest of it I do myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just edit it. Like I've fiddled around. I use the a color story app, and I've just basically, I know that I want it to be really light, really bright, really colorful. So I kind of use similar settings. I've got some photo boards that I've just painted with some tester pots, so I've got basically everything that I take works with everything else that I take. So that means that I can just kind of mix and match, and whatever I post will
Yeah.
fit in.
Yeah. Great, great. And so that's brilliant insight from Claire. And so are you using any stock photos at all, or is it all your own photography?
No, it's all mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so we will delve into some examples of making stock photos work as well. But that was great. And I'm not going to spend too much longer here, but thank you so much for
Thank
volunteering.
you.
And thank you for letting us share in the positivity of your beautiful space.
Thanks,
I
Claire.
can't wait to stitch one of these. I've been thinking about it.
Yay.
I've got some logistical challenges in terms of my brain being able to just pull materials together at the moment. I just need simplicity. So I'm knitting a scarf and it is literally the simplest pattern in the world. Anyway, right, which is what I need to untangle all my thoughts. So anybody else want to put themselves forward to have a little look, and then we'll delve into our exercises. Let me look at the chat. Come on, chat, here we go. Okay. I'm going to get to your notes in a minute. I'm just going to see if anybody else is. Okay, so. Okay, so I've just seen that Beverly said that I can share hers, so I'll just go on there. Okay, this is going to be good. And I don't want, I don't want anyone to feel any wobbles about anything. We're all at different stages in our Substack journey. So let me do that. Oh, I've just lost it again. This, everything's being tricky with me today around Zoom. There we go. Right. Oh, it's giving me a whiteboard. Nobody wants a whiteboard. I'm going to start again. Hang on. Right, here we go. Goodness me. Part of this is my brain after the weekend, I think. Right. So here we are. We've landed on Beverly's Substack. So I'm reading Live in Power in the Substack text at the top. I've got this logo here that says I am, which is very exciting, very affirming. And then there are some spaces around nature, candles, fireworks. Wow, there's so much here. Okay, great. Yeah. Some photos of people. I'm not sure about this one. I mean, curious. I'm leaning in. Okay, so yeah, so this is relatively new. And the color palette here, so there's like I think if my eyes don't deceive me, I think that is like a beige background, and then we've got the green coming through, and that is mirrored in this image here, the space in between past and future image as well. So maybe there's some inspiration from nature there. Let's head over to the about page. So, okay, so we're just finding our way around. We're being invited in. There are lots of powerful nature images. There's a few. Oh, I think that's a book cover. That's exciting. And there's Beverly. And just head over there as well. Great. So one of the things that I wanted to reference today was we've got this opportunity to have our profile picture within Substack. And then some people are also using this space as the profile picture as well, or instead of. So they'll have like a slightly different one here. The reason they're doing that is because in Substack notes, when you get the tiles of who's done a new post, mine, because it's my logo, just says Sparkle on Substack. But if you have your photo showing up on Substack notes, so if you have your photo in this logo space, that is very, very inviting. There's a person. What have they got to say? What am I going to find out if I lean in? Now, I'm going to do a test and change mine up and just see what comes from that. But I do think it's super interesting that just because it says logo does not mean we have to go and make a logo or commission a logo. Like, we can still be creative in our approach. So have a look and see what you've done and see if you can see what I mean on your app on the top of notes. But yeah, I wanted to reference that today, because I've seen lots of people do it like that. So what I feel here in terms of what I'm going to get is somebody who is connected to nature, someone who wants to give me some sort of insight about how powerful things can be. That's what I feel from these images. I feel they're all positive. I feel I'm very held. This one's curious, the rat catcher thing. I might, in a certain frame of mind, I might be like, oh, I want to click there first. But after the big festival, I'm like, no, just like show me something beautiful. And that's a really good point, because what I've seen a lot of is people enticing us in with imagery that feels really safe and is calming for our nervous system. And then you click something and it can be a post that is about things that we weren't expecting. And we have a job to do as curators of our Substacks to make sure that people are held, to make sure that there are trigger warnings if we need them, to make sure that people know what they're getting into, because it's not fair of us to trip anybody up into those spaces. And I've had it happen multiple times since I joined the platform. So the visuals are a further way for us to help build trust with our readers, trust with our audience, to make sure that we're holding them. Not to say that we shouldn't push the boundaries of what we're writing about, but we've got to make it clear if we're going to do that, really clear, capitals, a big page break, lots of space around things. Like, we've really got to hold people in our writing. There is a lot of incredibly deep writing on Substack. There are a lot of topics being covered, and I think we just want to make sure that everybody's nervous systems are okay. So here on this publication, I feel like it's, that I'm going to be okay. That's what I feel. Obviously the other clues are in the titles, so there's certain titles that I would read and think, oh, that sounds like a lovely place to be. And so, yeah, I mean, do you want to talk, Beverly? Is there anything you want to say? Anything you want feedback on while we're here on the call?
Well, I'm pretty new.
Welcome.
And I'm always a bit nervous about writing about spiritual things. I don't know why. That's one of my own hang-ups, I guess. So it's taken courage to get out there and put it out there. I guess it does with any writing, doesn't it? But and I did do the last session, well, the last US one you did, about the hero page. So I've been fussing about how to do the hero part. I finally learned how to pin that, so I have the Living Power post up there, but I don't have. I felt that was a powerful article for the hero place, but I don't have that inviting in that a lot of people have. A lot of people, yours in particular, of course, but I don't say, here I am, this is what I offer. It is in my about page, but it isn't in that so much. And I don't want my writing so much to be about, it's not about me, it's about the topic. But I understand I'm not a social media person. I don't post on, I'm older. That's my excuse. And I'm not a social media person, and it's taken me a long time to get to this place. So I need to feel more comfortable with how I open up and invite people in. And I'm glad to hear that it looks like it feels safe, because that's what it's about, obviously. But it's that communicating out, or inviting in, I should say, not just writing out, if that makes sense.
And I think listening to you, so intention is everything. And I'll go back to saying there's always time. So it might be that it's not the time for you to really hone in on what a hero post can be for other people, because you're on a different journey, you know, setting out that stall, enticing readers in, having a nice time speaking to people, testing some of the topics that you want to talk about, testing your own creative voice in that. And so although there are lots of things that we could be doing on Substack, this is where the discerning piece comes in, because we have to be discerning, we have to do what's right for us. And so there's part of just leaning into your intuition and leaning into your intention and going with that for a little while and seeing what energy flows back. So that can take some time, you know, that's never overnight for anybody, unless they've got a huge writer profile or a huge online presence somewhere else. So I think just enjoying that process, you know, and I think, yeah, the feedback that I would give in it is it feels like a nice space to hang out, and it feels like I might be challenged in a really positive way, like about maybe my beliefs about myself or my beliefs about the world. So yeah, that's what it feels like.
Okay, well, that's good. And I just need to, I do want to move more to that inviting people in, but it's a process, and time is something that I get very impatient with. So okay.
Yeah, we've got to be playing the long game on Substack. So we're so used to social media, you know, being different to that. But this is the gift of Substack, that we've got time to be creative and show up in a way that feels good to us. So we'll go into our first journaling exercise now, and it's about that intention setting. So it's about intention setting through visuals specifically, and it's about how you want to hold people, how you want people to feel when they arrive on your Substack, and then you having a look at your Substack and asking yourself, am I achieving this with the way that I've set this Substack out? So do you want them to feel inspired, held, educated, intrigued? You know, what are the things that we want them to feel about our work? And do we feel like our visuals are enhancing that or confusing that message? I'm going to write that in the chat so that you're really clear on what it is that we're doing, and we'll spend a few minutes on that.
Thank you.
That's my intention.
Okay, so we'll come back together. And if there's anything you'd like to share, if you could type it in the chat, that'll just mean that we're super efficient on time on the call. It'd be really lovely to hear from you. If you discovered anything about your own Substack, I'm going to go ahead and share another couple of Substacks and talk through some more ideas around this kind of visual part of things. I wanted to say that I chose to remind everybody of this workshop. I chose an image that I've already used. It's an illustration that I bought from an illustrator. I really must look up her name so I can link to her. But I chose it purposefully so I could see if there was any effect on the open rate. It's not really a fair test because this was a paid for post and it ordinarily would have been free, but I didn't have the time to like draw out the process in between times. But it was just that kind of, yeah, that real question for me around, are we repeating images? Can we repeat images? Like, what does that mean? You know, if it's a different invitation in the text, is that okay? And I guess just to say that it's all a big experiment, isn't it? And we're all having fun with it. But let me share my screen and then I'll come back and see how you guys are finding that exercise and how that's all felt. So I've shared Sarah's work before. This is the proof that the giant word mark is possible. There it is. I think we need to just ask Sarah. So Sarah has obviously this branding here for her Substack and some branding. She's a branding designer, so this is her gig, right? She knows what she's doing with this stuff. So she's got that there, and then the color palette, there is the same filter on all of the photos. It's very Instagram aesthetic. It's beautiful to look at, and then there are like little details photos that she shares as well. So every, you know, second or third post will be a photo of her to remind people it's me, I'm here, I'm a person right in this behind this Substack space, and then there's the details as well. And I wanted to just point that out to you, that that's something that she purposefully does, that balance of this is me, here's some detail, but it's all the same filter. We get used to seeing it. And what's built up for me as a subscriber to Sarah's work is I can really, really easily recognize when it's one of Sarah's posts. So my eyes know it's Sarah's posts before I've even read it's from her. Does that make sense? Because of the aesthetic that she's using. This is Adam. Again, you know, there's an aesthetic there that I know is Adam's. I see Adam's post come through. I know it's Adam. When you come onto his website, it's busy, it's messy, you know, but in a beautiful way. It's a beautiful mess. If he's listening, he'll just laugh at me. But there are these sort of posts where there is more white space. Now, when you get a post that has white space around it, you're giving people a different type of invitation. So there'll be psychological studies about this. This is just my take on it. When you were mixing words with, my video is frozen. Hopefully it's okay. I'll keep talking. It's back. When you were mixing words with more white space in an image, there is a longer response time, as in that's that like, oh, I recognize this, I'm being invited in. The decision making is sometimes easier if we've got a bit more white space around an image, because we're not being asked to process an image, process a title, process a header, process an author. It's like one congruent thing, one congruent invite, instead of trying to process lots of information at once. So those are just the two separate examples that I wanted to bring around my experience of knowing that when these two people send me something in my app, I know it's them instantly. So that is achievable. So I know it's from them. Do I want to open it is the next question. And obviously the workshop was that question around open rates. Well, if I know it's from them and I trust them and I want to read what they've got to say, if I've got time, then I'm going to be going straight in. So yeah, so that's a really interesting thing to think about for you and when you're setting up your Substack. Let me go into chat and see what you guys are saying, and then we're going to come into kind of creating a post. Some chats about sizing. So Amber's saying, I love the images I use and choose them with intention. However, there is no togetherness in them right now, no balance, just a mismatch of different images, animals, people, signs, post messages. When I'm more imbalanced, they're more nature-based. Interesting. Yeah. So that's that observation of self. So I curate my images. So I don't choose something that is based on just the piece alone. I'm curating something that is going to then fit with the rest of the Substack aesthetic. Like that feels important and joyful to me. So that's what I do. Like it might not feel important and joyful to you. That's the whole experimentational piece. So Desiree says, I always share my own photos and I choose them specifically because of how they relate to my ideas. The photos I use are almost always nature photos, and sometimes I'm in them, but not usually, but usually not. Okay, yeah. So that aesthetic of using your own photography and then applying a filter to that if you want to. So Claire mentioned a color story app, which I've used and I think is great as well. And I think just knowing whether we are on the more warm aesthetic tone or the cooler aesthetic tone and what colors might be coming through. So there's a whole branding conversation that is much bigger than this. And I will be having some special guests coming on later in the year around branding specifically and how we make those choices. For me, I know that the aesthetics of my brand are quite rooted in like pink and yellow color tones, and there's a lot of nature that features in my work anyway because I'm very inspired by the natural world. So it is a bit of a blend of different things. I'm not really rigid in my branding. I could probably do more work on that and I will, but yeah, that's where I'm at now. So Natalie's saying, try to change my logo, and despite it being sized to what Substack said, it kept displaying incorrectly. Oh, that's so annoying. I wonder if you've got the little chat bot yet. So Substack have a chat bot that pops up when you go onto your Substack website now. And I don't know whether it's just for some of us or whether everyone's got that, but it might be worth asking in there. I have shared before, and I will share again, the guidance from Substack on all of the different places that we can upload logos and word marks and things. But I know from myself that that hasn't always worked, which is frustrating. Maybe there's a creative solution. So Elfin says, I talk about Italy and use my pictures of myself, my retreats, coffee in Italy. Oh, nice. I don't use anything else from Canva or have branding. I'm still figuring things out. Yeah, for sure. I think there's an intuitive feeling as to this will work, but also there's that bit of the picture that is, if I spend half an hour looking for the right image, that's half an hour that I could have been doing something else. So there's that, yeah, there's just that really leaning into like how much time you want to spend on selecting the right visuals. So Charlie says, I want my visuals to be calm and cohesive, using them to help create a safe and welcoming space. Beautiful. I think my brand portraits help to create a trust factor. I will stick to my brand color palette, warm, neutrals, browns, wood. Then each month I might bring in a slightly different element as I explore seasonal themes, but these will keep within my general palette, also bringing consistently through motifs such as a cup of tea and notebooks. That is so nice. Beautiful. Right, I'll read some more of these in a minute, but let's head over here. Right, so here on it's my writer profile. So you guys know that I write multiple Substack publications, and I just wanted to kind of pause a minute to go into that. So the through line through all of the work that I do has like a pink element coming through it. So there's something recognizable for me, and I love spending time with the color pink anyway. So there's something that comes through there at the top. This only matters to me, nobody else, but I'm just explaining. And then you can see as you go down, so this is the last two that I've done for Substack. And then this is the last one that I did for Creative Conscious. So this is my daughter in a pink cardigan with some pink blossom. So it's very pink. And then the balance comes back in again. So there's some of nature. Again, the pink appears again. Nature, the sparkle logo for the podcasts. And then there's this element of visual surprise. So I'm really into this as a curator anyway, like whether that's in real life or online. I love it when I come across an image that just surprises me for whatever reason. And I really loved this image. I know it's kind of hard to read, but for me, it just makes me feel different. You know, it's something different to what I would normally share. So this isn't my laundry, it's my neighbor's laundry, but I just loved that, you know, the idea of pegging out laundry and with this beautiful view of the field, with the sun starting to set. It just, yeah, it was just a nice visual surprise for me, stumbling across it, and then the intention to share it with everybody as well. Felt like a really nice thing to do. So I wanted to challenge you in the next exercise around what are the visual surprises that are possible? Like if we don't take photos very much, you know, what are the stock images that might be possible to create this idea of a visual surprise, and how do we make it cohesive and fit with our Substack invitation? So going back to that intention that we had in the first journal exercise, is there something that we can do around a visual surprise? And the reason to do a visual surprise, I mean, this post has had the most number of views that I've ever had on Substack. It's not just to do with the image, is it? But it's part of it. It's got to be. So, you know, we've got to go into like, why would we do it? And why would it be exciting? And how would it stop people in their tracks? And why would it stop people in their tracks if they're used to seeing a certain thing for us, or there's something else? Like, would it push them over into like, oh, I've never read something from Claire in a while, I might click on this one. So yeah, the question is around visual surprises. Do you have access to any? If you did, what would you do? What do you think about them? Have a little journal on that, and I'll put that in the chat. So Elfin, the goal of a visual surprise is at the moment for me to test whether it increases open rate. And that's why I wanted to put this workshop on. So I've seen it happen where I've chosen something that is different as an image to an image that I would usually share. And it's different in many ways, but there's a depth of, I wonder what that's about, curiosity. Like, I wonder if I click that, what's that about? It's not just about the image. Obviously, it's the title as well, but we're questioning, is that something that we want to do? Like, have we got access to visual surprises in our phone? Could we type that into stock images? What's going to come out? What do we want to do? Like, what is that for us, and how could it increase our open rate? And the only way you might know is if you scroll back through your archive and see if you've done it anywhere, and see if that has had any impact on open rate, and obviously test it in the future as well. But yeah, it's all just about curiosity. Yeah, Lou's just said it's the visual equivalent of having someone prick their ears up. It's definitely that. I love that analogy. And thank you for being so astute and being my brain for me today, which is on Go Slow. Thank you. Okay, lovely. So I've put the guidance from Substack on logos in the chat. The easiest thing to do to find the Substack help articles is literally to Google it and make sure that you're not clicking on anybody else's advice, because like Substack have got it right there. And if it's not working, you can email them because it might be a fault. Or if you've got the chatbot, the Substack chatbot, it's really good. I love chatting to the Substack chatbot. They're so helpful. So yeah, so that's there. How did you find thinking about visual surprise? What came up for you all? Does anyone want to talk, or do you want to put it in the chat? It's completely up to you. I'll see if I can get you all on a gallery again so I can see. Hi, Lindsay, do you want to chat?
I'll chat.
Yay!
Hey, I just went back and had a look at what happens when you open archive. And when you scroll down and see your posts in chronological order and see where those visual surprises are. And I think because I go between different types of pieces, you know, I have posts that are memoir specific, they've got a feel. And then I've got my other stuff that comes out on a Sunday that has its own vibe. Then maybe I sense that I'm visually surprising all the time.
Okay.
But people don't absorb it in that way. So maybe that's okay, because on that page, it looks a bit sort of disjointed. It doesn't feel as cohesive as when you approach it from the lovely homepage, which I think I just hadn't quite considered before. I mean, I don't really know that there's anything that can be done about it. It is what it is. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go to your page. I know what you're saying. So what's been really helpful for me, because I do subscribe to your Substack, and it's been really helpful for me to recognize that this is you telling me about a new memoir chapter that's coming out in audio, because for me, then have I got time there and then to listen? When could I listen again? And I think, I mean, because you are very artistic in your approach to your Substack, you know, you've got the audio, you've played around with Canva graphics, you've got like a beautiful like branded Substack, you know, you've ticked all the boxes, like it's all there, isn't it? And I think that those visual surprises we can be playful with, if that's our personality, if that's the personality of our Substack, if that's like, hey, like there might be this and there might be that, and I'm going to do a whole load of different things here. I think it's really interesting. And I think, like you say, scrolling through that archive, it just gives us that sense of what we've pushed out to everybody else, doesn't it? It's like, then I did this, and then I did this one, and then that one went out. So it can be a really nice and insightful piece of work to do. But yeah, this is Lindsay's Substack. Go and check it out if you have not already. A very inviting space, and a space where I feel like you know, from looking at this and I know this, I'm going to be challenged. And sometimes I'm in the mood for that, and other times I won't be, you know, it depends how much time I've got. I like to give Lindsay's work time. That's how I personally feel. Whether you've set that intent or not, I don't know, but that's how I feel.
Thanks.
So just have a look and see if anybody else is fine. So Elfin saying you've struggled a bit. Elfin, do you want to talk, Elfin? Or you don't have to, but if you want to, we can have a chat. Hi.
Hi. Well, I come from Instagram, so I have a presence on Instagram. So I really had a very clear idea of what the images for my Substack would be. All I did was take all my pictures from Instagram, my Instagram stories, and brought them, hoping, you know, that those pictures that weren't being appreciated on Instagram anymore would have a second life on Substack. And I have this imagery that is, you know, I value coffees, I value street views, I value sunsets. So I know what, so something that is a bit different. I don't know what it would be.
And we do, you know, we don't have to challenge ourselves to do anything different. If we found an aesthetic that we like and that we're running with, we don't have to overcomplicate it, do we? So I think it's like, yeah, leaning into, if it feels good and true for you, then that's great. And you can just keep running with that and see how those things are landing.
I think I want to put it on the back burner though, because I think it could be very interesting for us, maybe a more thought-provoking post that pushes, you know, pushes the boundaries a bit of, so maybe now I'm not a quick-witted person. I need time to think things over. And, you know, it's one post And so I have to think it over.
Yeah,
And
something to lean into and question. And I think what I'm trying to do with all of my work, you know, my company's called Creatively Conscious. Like, I want us to be conscious. I want us to be making choices that feel aligned. I want us to be making choices that feel good, you know, that align with what we're doing. And I think about things on this very, very deep level of human connection, and that invitation through Substack. It's not just to throw away something, like it means something to me, like when I put it out into the world. And so I'm bringing that intention, I'm bringing that conscious choice, that curatorial choice to all of my work. So yeah, I'm just inviting you to think about it and see if that feels good for you. I'll go back on to share my screen because I just wanted to go into stock images, which to be honest, when I first started writing on Substack, just because I wasn't very organized with my own photography and I didn't want to give myself too much to do, I just use the stock images here. So when we open a post, we can insert an image. So obviously we can find our own images from our folders, desktop. We can add a gallery image, which I talked about in the post last night. And I really like gallery images. They do take a bit of time, but I think they're really, really nice to do. I'm not even going to generate an AI image because honestly, me and my husband laugh about this. They're literally bonkers. They're so bonkers. He once did one about chickens, and then, you know, the chicken came out with like 6 legs and 2 heads. It was just weird. I just had a very weird experience. So I'm just not going there. But on the stock images, obviously, these are powered by Unsplash. So these are real artists in the world that have provided these beautiful images to accompany our words. So there's a whole load of possibility. Mine's been showing up like this for a couple of weeks. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, what I've seen a lot of is this one, this blue one. I've seen a lot of this light bulb one. I've seen a lot of these pencils. I think I use the pencils to start with, you know, so anything that comes up top, people are going to be like, yeah, that's fine, I'll stick that in. As it's fine to do that, but it just means that lots of people might be doing that. So just being really discerning. So say if we knew that we wanted something and it's just that lovely invitation, so it's a coffee, you could definitely use that image. It's a portrait image, and it tends to be that if a portrait image is used in a Substack, you're asking people to scroll that little bit more, because on the app, obviously, when we're reading portrait, and so you're going to ask people to scroll a couple of times to get past it. That might be what you want. If it's a landscape image like the coffee beans, it's like a visual break for our eyes. There are some coffee beans, and now we'll carry on reading the post. Then you've got obviously the option of the social image as well, which you can change. So you can have images in your post, and the social image will pull through the first one that you choose, but you can also change that image at the point of posting. So if you wanted your logo, if you wanted a photo of you to go out with it, and you wanted the photo in the post to be different, you can do that. If you wanted coffee and nature, I mean, you guys know this, you can literally type anything in here, but it's not always going to bring you what you want. Let me see. I mean, these are just other things. You could just go down such a rabbit hole, couldn't you? Let's think. Okay, so right, so walls. It's gonna just bring up walls. I'm not suggesting any of you put a wall in your post. I mean, you might want to, but I just think it's so interesting, isn't it? How many artists have tagged the word wall in their post, in their Unsplash uploads here. There's just so much stuff. If you write a lot about being in nature, there are some incredibly expansive nature images. So I've done things like mountain scene before, and like an image like this, I could never in a million years take this image. So it's got pink in it, it's got yellow in it. I would probably use that image. Like, that is just a beautiful image. If I'm trying to get people to think about being expansive, to think about possibility, those are some of the things that I'll do. My friend Susie, who runs the Story Fest, she always has funny dogs, and I'm always curious whether she gets them from here. She probably does. She always, just because she's quite light-hearted, like she likes to have a laugh, she'll just every now and again put a funny dog in. So there you go. There they all are, the funny dogs of Substack and the world on Unsplash. And to get more abstract, if you want somebody to be really reading your words and the image to not necessarily take away from your words, but to enhance them, I did this one a little while ago and went down a bit of a rabbit hole. So I had this idea of the passage of time, and I wanted something that was an hourglass, but there was something more inviting. So I tried hourglass and like timepiece, and like just went down this route of like, what else is there? What else could there be there? So some of the photography that felt really exciting and expansive, some of it feels quite old school blog, doesn't it? Like this type of stuff. But there is some really nice stuff here for us to play around with. What else can we try? Bookshop, probably quite relevant. Yeah, some of them, you know, it's like we could have taken it, but it still credits the artist. So it's more generic. So it hasn't got like a necessarily a location attached to it, but it's not going to take away from our words. It's like my eyes aren't having to work hard if I put this image in, you know, it's like it's just going to add to what I'm saying. Can you see what I mean by that? So I'm not asking anybody to work hard and like decipher a complicated image or feel like they're standing on the top of a mountain or feel like they've gone to a coffee shop. It's just like bookending what I'm saying. Is this making sense? Nodding, right. Okay, so while we're here on the post, obviously I've talked to you guys about this before, but when you've got your buttons here, when you put in your subscribe button or any other buttons, I wanted to just give you that reminder that when we decide to put in multiple buttons, we're asking people to make a decision. When we put in one button, one call to action, people have got one choice, and that's the difference. And so visually, people like to click on buttons, and there's all sorts of research done about size of buttons and what the button says and all of this sort of stuff. And you can have a play around with that stuff. But ultimately, one of the big things that I see is people put multiple buttons in, and the advice is not to do that because people don't know which one to click. They can't make a decision. They're not sure what they're meant to do. They might not do anything. So it's that overwhelm. If you keep it really clear and you just have the one button, the one visual, if you keep that in the same place every time you post, the people that have been there a while, you know, if they've never clicked on it, they might then click on it. So if they haven't subscribed, it would say subscribe now. If they are already subscribed, it would say upgrade to paid. So I just wanted to make that clear that that's how that works. And then obviously we've seen it plenty of times, but if you put in your paywall, it's going to look like that to you. But then when you preview it, that's what your free subscribers are going to get. So again, in just holding all of those visuals, we don't want to throw too much of all of that at people. We want people to read our work. And if we're an artist, you know, that's slightly different. We're not talking about reading work, but we are still talking about sitting with the work, you know, absorbing the work. So yeah, I just wanted to point those two things out to you guys. Right, let me go back into the chat and see where we all are. I'll stop sharing my screen. Great, okay. So Desiree's saying, can you disperse multiple buttons throughout your post? So subscribe in one place and share in another. You can, but if people want to share it, they just will anyway. Like you can say that in your text. Like, so you can say, like, if you love this post, like feel free to leave me a heart or restack it. But the restack button's there. And as people are getting used to the Substack platform, they will, if they feel compelled to share it, they just will share it. I don't know that the share button is that useful just because we all understand the platform. Like it's probably more useful for new people that don't understand the platform. But if it's a choice between the share button and the subscribe button, always use the subscribe button because you want people to subscribe for more work or to entice them to obviously subscribe for paid spaces. So Lou's saying, I love this. Can you talk more about the two types of images that support or highlight the writing versus the other type? Yes. So the research that I've done around how we hold people in an online space is people's attention spans are short. They're longer on Substack, but they're short. So if you imagine Instagram, we're used to scrolling, we're used to looking for the next thing, like, okay, I've read that, on to the next thing, I've scrolled past that, onto the next thing. What we're trying to do on Substack is set out our stall, set out a Substack home so that it feels the same level of invitation every time we write. So people feel held, that there's nothing that's going to be jarring for them in the imagery, that it feels like, yeah, I know where I am. So the examples that I used obviously around Sarah Robertson and Adam Ming, like I know what their posts are like I know what to expect, so I can actually spend time with the words. When you're choosing an image that asks somebody to sort of translate what is being presented to them. So we've all got different tolerances to this. So I don't tolerate GIFs very well. So now people have started putting GIFs in their Substack. I find that really, really difficult as a neurodivergent woman to understand what it is I'm being asked to do. So there's a moment of being stunned when I see a GIF. Like, I can't help it. I'm fine with them in WhatsApp for some reason, but on Substack, it's like, whoa, I'm stunned. And I don't always want to read what they've put in. Now, it's very, very personal to me, and I have not researched this. But from what I have researched, the more plain the image, the more we're not asking somebody to do extra work, we're just holding them. So like the books, it's like, those are books. I see those are books. I don't have to do anything else. If we had books with titles on them, on the spines, we're asking somebody to look at that, and we're then asking someone, do you want to read the titles of those books? Was that your intention? Because then that's just pulling them away from the work that we're presenting. So some of the artists that are on Substack that use very few words, you know, they want you to sit with their images, like that's important to them. And for those of us that are blending both, like my intention on Creatively Conscious is, yes, sit with the words and the image. Like, I'm asking you to do both if you want to. So I think it's very personal. I think that you find your way with it as you go and as you build up your Substack practice. If I can say that we have a practice on Substack, I believe that we do. So yes, hopefully that helps. Okay, so we've been on for an hour, and I want to always leave some space for questions and stuff at the end. There's a lady called Charlene who is going to ask a question that we can all hopefully learn from a little bit. I'm very aware, and I've heard from some of you, that you're feeling the overwhelm on Substack, and I want to really hold you in that. These calls, you know, we dip into a topic, we explore it, we could put it down for 6 months, or we could like run with it. So let's see where we all are. Charlene, is there anything that you'd like to ask? It'd be lovely to speak to you. If you do need to go, feel free. Or you're just on mute there. I'll get you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So I was actually going to just talk to you about my Substack. I don't have any question really off the top of my head for everybody. And this is my first time on this, so
welcome.
Thank you. So I don't really have anything particular for that I think anybody else can learn from.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can chat later.
Yeah, so usually what we do, Charlene, just so you know, is I leave a little bit of space at the end of the call that if anybody's got questions, that somebody could bring that to the whole group, and so that everybody can learn from everyone. So that's what I meant by that. And sorry, because I know you are new, and I've been really busy plugged into this festival. So I know I replied and said, can you come to the call on Monday and we'll catch up? So yeah, let's just do that, you and I, then at the end of this. That's totally fine.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions about today's workshop? Anything else that I've covered in recent workshops? Anything that you're feeling about Substack? Any blocks or anything that you want to ask before we finish? You're so welcome. Charlie, did you want to say something, or are you just chewing your finger?
Yeah. No.
Hi.
Yeah. Hiya. I was wondering about your thoughts around like using images in notes, but I know we've talked about notes and other things. I don't know. I guess I was just thinking about, whether you have any sort of particular thinking around that, or like I'm still struggling to show up there. But I know that's like a whole different topic, but I was just thinking
no, that's good. That's what it's for, you know. Anything that's bubbling up for you, like, I want you to say, because if you're thinking about it, the chances are other people will be thinking about it too. So yeah, so on notes, I like to use images for sure. I like to invite other people to share images, and I do see that done on notes a little bit as well. I think that when we use an image on notes, the note itself is a bigger scrolling ask, which is good for us, right? Because it means that whoever's seeing that note is doing so in a way that is like an extended invitation. So it's like, there's an image, there's someone called Charlie, there's some things that they've got to say, you know, it's like a larger footprint, if you like. So I think if you aesthetically usually use images in your work, it's again that opportunity to share, this is who I am in the world, this is who I am on Substack, this is what feels good to me. there are no right or wrong ways of using notes. It's so new, you know, so we're seeing people experiment with it, be playful with it, see what works. Sometimes someone will say something, like Beth Kempton shared something and said, oh, this has had over 1,000 likes on it, you know, and it was just something really beautiful that she said. I can't remember what it was now. My memory's like a sieve today. But there are other, so there's Charlene's Story does an everyday magic thread on a Saturday, and people just share something from their week in visual form that felt like it was everyday magic to them, and they might write a few words with it as well. And she's been doing that, to be honest, I think since Notes started. So I joined in with a few of them, and I was like, wow, like if I'm going to do this every week, it just feels a big commitment. But there are still those things bubbling up and those opportunities to collaborate with others, to invite others, but also to kind of set out our stall. What I'm hearing the most about Notes is that people write something and it doesn't get any traction whatsoever. So no likes and no replies. And that's why we have the Wednesday thread. So this week I'll put into chat for our members, okay, like, has anyone done a note? Is anyone going to do a note? Like, let's get around each other's stuff and like support each other, because there is an algorithm at play in Notes. If you talk about anything to do with Substack, I've said this before, it'll get picked up. So if the word Substack is in there, then that'll tend to get picked up. But other things, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, do what feels good to you. And if you're not being called to use it, you know, you don't have to. Restacking other people's words and joining in with conversations is a nice tentative way into Notes, Charlie, if you want to.
It definitely feels a little like, and I'm sure people feel this about other areas of it, like when I'm on Instagram, but like almost like a little bit cliquey, and you don't want to be like maybe it's because I follow lots of similar people all talking to each other, so you kind of just feel like the outsider being like, hi.
Yes.
But I'm sure everyone's so welcoming and lovely, but it's just that thing of like getting in there is quite yeah, I don't know, it's always a bit scary. But I guess, yeah, thinking about the way I'd show up on stories or something is like having those regular motifs that I share that help people sort of find their way into my work and what I do. So
it's that finding the way in, isn't it? And you know, I talked about this in my workshop yesterday. We're all colleagues, you know, there are not any readers on Notes. We're all colleagues, we're all people that are creating on Substack, writing on Substack at this point in time, and that probably won't be forever. So it's like going to a networking event in a way. Like if you're on there and I said something, or my colleague Laura said something, or Sarah said something, it's like, well, why wouldn't we join in and chat with each other? Because we're all colleagues. So I think once we understand that bit of the picture, it's a much more inviting and less scary space. It's when we're looking and sort of going, oh, that's a conversation they're having. Well, it is, but it's also a conversation that we're having in a public forum for anybody to join in with. And I think social media in the past has just scarred us a little bit, because we're like, what are the rules? Like, what are we doing here? What's it all about? And actually, it's all allowed. You know, Lucy Werner from Hype Yourself, who I've connected with recently, she's like, hype yourselves, talk about yourself, tell everybody what you're doing. And that feels terrifying in some ways. But then I see a modeling doing it, and I'm like, go Lucy, like this is cool, like I get this, I can get on board with this. So there's always that piece, isn't there, of just figuring out what it is we want to do there that feels good, joyful, sustainable to us. And I think in this test and adjust period, it is possible to grow your Substack via Notes, via the Notes network, because we're all reading each other's stuff and we're all leaning in and interested. And it won't always be the case. I think as it gets busier, it'll be harder to be seen. So maybe just, if it feels comfortable on Wednesday, maybe you can do something, see how you feel.
okay. Yeah, I will do. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay. Great. Anybody else want to say anything? Anyone want to chat? Hi, Elfin.
Just wanted to ask, you shared a Canva folder with image breakers for the posts, the complete posts. Maybe you said this at the beginning of the call. I wasn't here. I got here late. I had trouble with Zoom. What are your ideas about breaking up the post with these images? I know Emma Gannon does it. It's beautiful to see. I'm not very visually talented. I don't have any good, I'm not very visually oriented. So what are your ideas about that?
So it's a pause moment. And so what I'll do is I'll just share my screen again and show you how it works in real time. So I'll just move this bar. if I was going to share a page break after I'd written something, mine is in my Substack folder. I handily called it Entitled, but I know what it is. So for me, when I designed this, this was a space of flow, welcome. We've got my pink branding. Like, it just felt like a really nice thing. I played around with lots of different, I was on holiday actually, and I just was having like loads of fun playing around with if I put a pause in between my writing, and it was that kind of space of holding people in, okay, now we'll have a pause and think about what I've suggested, because I do ask people to think a lot. So this is how it looks. The file itself is actually quite long. So the template that I shared in yesterday's post is this file, and you can put anything you want in here. You could put stars, you could put a giraffe, you can literally put anything. You can design it however you want to design it. The reason I do it is because I'm asking people to think. And some of my Substack posts end up quite long, so it just gives me another opportunity to break it up. There's no action to take, not like a subscribe button. So that's why I really like them here. I did do a little bit of research, and I wrote about it in my hero post, I think it was, in my welcome post when I first launched Sparkle. So have a look at that. But it's really just, it's up to you. Like, if that feels like a nice playful thing to have within your Substack, then you absolutely can. I always say, just, you know, write first and faff later, or, you know, put your art in the world first and faff around later, because we can end up adding lots of things, and then we've got this way that we do things that we've kind of forced ourselves into, and it's time consuming. I mean, you can duplicate a post, so if you get a formatting style that you like, you can always duplicate it. But yeah, I just really wanted to do something like that. The other thing is with the emojis, so say if you had an emoji that you really liked, and then you put it in pull quote, it's going to break up the text that way, and it's going to centralize it. So all of our text obviously is left adjusted here, but then if you wanted people's eyes to have a pause and then come back to the left to read the text, that's another quick little hack that I sometimes do. And I don't want to put this in too many times, but I do want to have that pause. So yeah, a little hack. I mean, I just quirky, and I like emojis. I don't know. Does that make sense? Yes, I think. Yeah, all good. Okay, right, okay, well, I should let you guys go. I'll just check the chat one more time quickly in case I've missed anything. Thank you all for being here. If there's anything that you need, just a reminder that you get the 4-week course, so that if you really are starting at the very beginning of learning Substack, that's included in your membership. So if you need that and you can't find it, please let me know. If there's anything that you need and you're lost in the membership portal, please email me. I'll find it for you. It's not a problem. I am going to catalog it a bit better than it is cataloged. So that's coming. I just need a bit of time to do that. So thank you all. I'll stay on and speak to Charlene now, because we're going to have a little chat about her being new to Substack. But thank you all. Thanks for being here. Lovely to see so many smiling faces. Go have fun on Substack. Nearly there. Yeah. Hi, how you doing?
Good. It's nice to meet you finally.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
So yeah, I finally.
Oh, let me just stop recording. Sorry.